So, this is Damon, aka the Style Counsellor, and I'm in Derby with a good mate of mine called James Hurdis, who's got a place called Canopy, which is a cool shop. And I just want to introduce you to James and just find out a bit about Canopy. So, James, tell us about Canopy.
Well, we've been trading as it in its current format for about 10 years, as in selling clothes. Prior to that, for a further 15 years selling just accessories. Actually, as you'll remember that from right from the start. We would sell footwear, a lot of British-made footwear brands, Churches, Crockett and Jones.
What kind of brands, James?
Well, so years ago when we first started, we specialised in British footwear. Like I say, Crockett and Jones, Churches, Grenson, Logue, and then we also did. Sort of towards the end of that period, at the end of that 15 years, we started to introduce a little bit of clothing. Again, primarily British brands, John Smedley, Barber. I know if you remember, that was kind of around this part of the store. Yeah. And then, so 10 years ago, clothing always, like yourself, has always been passion. And we decided to kind of go whole hog and become a clothing store, as opposed to a footwear and accessory store that sold a little bit of clothing.
Some people say. So what made you transition from the accessory and luggage, which was amazing, by the way? You know, the brands you used, as you mentioned on the shoes were great, and some of the luggage and stuff to me, and some amazing mates you had there. It was a really cool shop. What made you transition and make the jump to clothing? I do remember that period, by the way.
Yeah. Well, 10 years ago, the internet was a thing, and it was around, but it wasn't. It was just starting to kind of gather pace, and so a lot of the luggage brands that we were doing, and things changed as well. There was definitely a downturn for us, at least, in the amount of £300 English-made formal shoes that we were selling. But also, particularly with the luggage, we've only got a finite amount of space in this store, and the internet. If you look online, although you have to order the stuff, you go on a Tumi's website, for example, and they would have every single item that they have in stock on the website. We can only carry a small percentage.
Would they have a minimum order as well?
For us, they would have a minimum order. But obviously, for a customer, a retail customer, you obviously order one thing. We couldn't do that, but a retail customer could order one thing and usually get it the next day. So it did make selling, being a luggage retailer, it did make it a lot harder. So this was a step we felt that there was a market for for us to become a clothing, a fashion retailer, and that's what we did. Albeit, bearing in mind we're in Derby, Derby isn't London or Paris. We have to sort of always have to bear that in mind when we're doing the buying. But that's what we did.
So you transitioned from the accessory through a natural progression of things changing within the market, do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
As opposed to you just being defined by wanting to be an accessory, you were actually watching the market change.
Yeah, there was definitely a change in the market, and also I think 10 years ago there was a real shift in, and this was probably a big part of it actually, particularly for the men in menswear. So a lot of stores that were maybe at the time selling really well-known global brands, Hugo Boss, I don't know, there's lots of those kind of brands. They were, I think the internet made selling those brands harder, because I think if you're into one particular brand, Hugo Boss being a great example, and you want a navy blue Hugo Boss polo shirt, that's quite an easy thing to buy online, because you can search for it, you can go on Hugo Boss's own website and you can go and buy that. But around 10 years ago, there seemed to be an explosion in a lot of more contemporary brands. Oliver Spencer, Folk, Universal Works, all seemed to come to prominence at roughly around the same time. And they were the kind of brands that I was personally interested in, but also there was all of a sudden there was a market for it. People were asking about those kind of brands, and you know, I mean, that's never going to be. That's not the mass market. It's always going to be. I think what we do is always going to be a niche market where we only have one store. It's an independent business. We actually, as it stands now, don't sell online, but
Why?
Because we have tried doing that, and we're a very small team. So it's me and Joel and Bev, the kind of.
Who's Bev?
Bev also works here. She's not here today, funnily enough, but she's worked in the business for years. Oh, crikey, maybe 20 years she's worked in the business. So she's seen a lot of changes. But between the three of us, it's very difficult to sort of interpret what we do in a website. And also, I think a big part of our business, as you'll vouch for this, is that there's a very personal element to it, that people come in to talk to the people in the shop, to get that kind of just to have that human element that I don't think you can really get on. I mean, websites try and emulate that, but I don't think you can necessarily.
Yeah, I think I've been discussing with somebody lately about the boutique shop of the past, like the His and Hers, and hopefully I'll be speaking to Roger Wilkinson, who was the pioneer of that. Very similar feel to this, a long time ago, right? But the boutique, you know, where privately owned, the guy can control the stock, and they are doing their own thing a little bit, is gone. You know, like the bigger stores that are there. There's 18 Montrose, who's part of a bigger group in Nottingham, and there's some stores like The Allotment, which we'll be speaking to, and there's Autograph in Birmingham, which is cool. We've been to, and Imran will speak to him. But now Limey's and His has gone. You seem to be the only guy in and around here. So once you've gone, so when you moved from accessories and jumped across to literally do both men and women, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Did you know? At what point did you realise it was the right thing to do? And did you know what brands you wanted from the start? Did you do any research, or was it purely on your own style? Because you're a cool kid, you know. Like you've got good taste, and you know. I was talking to somebody recently about this. Taste transcends. Everything you do when you got taste is you got good taste in style. Your style will go into clothing, interior, pretty much everything, because taste is taste, isn't it? You know, so you've got good taste. So you know, explain about the shop a little bit in terms of like the stock and how it came about and that type of thing.
Well, interesting that you mentioned Limey's, His and Hers, because obviously I grew up obviously going to that shop.
I worked there, so
you were there. My wife Louisa, who obviously does the women's wear. She looks after women's wear, did the buying, etc. She worked there. She was a buyer there. So that obviously had a big influence on. And you know, when that was no longer here, I did feel like there was a gap for something along those lines.
And I think a lot of guys who bought clothes from Limey's felt there was nowhere else to shop. Yeah. And we discussed this, didn't we?
We did, yeah. In terms of the brands that we picked. There's a theme to what we do. They're smaller brands.
So the theme, explain that. What do you mean?
Well, I think what we do, we're definitely not all things to all people. So I think I would loosely describe our style as, well, it's, you know, there's a Ivy League element to it. There's definitely an element of Americana, but there's also a lot of our brands are Scandinavian, which I think suits the British. Well, obviously the weather, we have similarities in weather and fits, and just the general styling, I think, is, you know, there's definitely a synergy between what British people will wear and what Scandinavians wear. And then also, of late, we've just sort of, in the last few years, we've sort of doing a few more Japanese brands, which...
Such as?
Oslo and Beams. I would like to do more, but actually it's, for us that's always going to be probably a niche market, because, you know, like I say, we are in Derby, we don't sell online, at the moment. But the Japanese stuff that we do is fantastic in terms of quality. It's quite expensive to get it here. That's the problem for us, because we have to pay duty on it.
Sure.
We have to pay shipping on it.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's slightly prohibitive because, you know, it means the prices are high, and obviously there are other people who sell it, you know, online. There are online retailers that represent those brands. So we have to price it in a way that reflects in their pricing. But other than that, how we pick brands, I mean, I think we had an idea right from the start, the kind of brands we wanted to do.
Yeah. Which, incidentally, were a lot of brands that we both liked and you liked.
Yeah.
And add a style sort of incentive by just knowing fashion yourself a little bit.
Yeah. And over the last 10 years, I was saying I can remember when we first started, we did. I think the clothing we had initially was slightly more formal than we probably do now.
Yeah.
I think that's just the way for us fashion's gone over the last. It's definitely gone more casual. You know, more sportswear influenced, definitely military influenced.
Like a workwear thing as well, isn't it?
Loads of workwear, and we've definitely we don't do hardly any tailoring.
Yeah.
And when we have tried it, that's always a tricky sell for us, I think.
I think the market has changed. I think if you look generally all over, everyone's a lot more cool and casual, but I think the casual
I mean,
flavour.
shoes, brilliant example. I mean, we used to sell loads of different variations of brown brogues and black Oxfords, and now we hardly sell any shoes at all. I think that will change. That'll come back. But currently, I mean, we sell a lot of trainers, and you see most.
What trainer brands, just incidentally?
Well, the last couple of years we've been doing Veja, French brand, sort of one made sustainably in South America. So we've been doing that. We've been doing, and Saucony, it's an American brand. We don't really, we've not really done any of the big Nikes or Adidas. We've not really touched on those. Maybe we should have. But I think these things come full circle, don't they? So I think. Yes, people have been wearing trainers with pretty much every outfit that a guy would put together. You could put trainers with it, even tailoring, soft tailoring. Yeah. But I think that will change. At some point, people will start wearing formal shoes again. I guess. It's just the way these things work.
So, for the future of Canopy, will you be market led, or will you still have your kind of vibe where you're doing what you want to do and dictate the market a little bit? Do you know what I mean? I know there's probably has to be a fine line between the two. Yeah. But you're an innovator. You've built this from nothing, so therefore, you'd have to say that you understand the market that you are into, like this workwear, Americana, the preppy Ivy League look, mixed in with some kind of sportswear. You do it very well, and now the shop is the way it is. I think, incidentally, it's probably the best it's ever been. I think it's a really cool space. It looks very reminiscent to like shops in Florence, like an Italian type of English twist kind of.
Well, we talk about that a lot, and I think if you get away from what you're known, the kind of the style you're known for, I think that can be a bit of a problem. Yeah. Because this is the style that I understand. Yeah. It's what I like personally. Yeah. Having said that, you do have to be influenced by the market, because obviously, like I said, I like wearing trainers. Yeah. I like wearing, combat style fatigue trousers. But if the market goes more formal, but I think there's always a way of kind of marrying these things together. I don't think, and I wouldn't say that the style that we sell in the shop is all one way. I mean, we don't really have too many customers that walk out of here head to toe in camo, for example. Yeah. Not that that is available, but it's just I don't know, it's too much, Yeah. So, but we will definitely. Well, at the end of the day, we're a business, so we have to try and. Sure. We have to stay here. We have to try and make some money, To put the lights on, pay the bill, pay the rent.
But I have to say, James, I've shopped in here and known you for a long, long time now. And it's probably the best it's been. I think the way, I think the layout, the stock, the way it looks, even down to the decor now, where, even it's a lot softer.
Yeah, well, at the beginning of the year.
Worked. But I mean, you play with different colour schemes even on the paint, like from greens and stones and slight different shading. But I just think the way it is now, I think you've got it right.
At the beginning of the year, obviously, we spent a lot of time and some money sort of changing. We went from having 2 stores, something we've been thinking about a long time, so to go to having 1 store, sort of encapsulating men's and women's product, which we've been talking about doing for a long time, in the last couple of years, 2 or 3 years, but we actually did that we reopened in March in the space that we're in now. With actually, women's is actually on the first floor, men's on the ground floor. It has given us more room, actually. That has.
Sorry to interrupt. Which is very reminiscent of Lime's. Can you remember?
Well, yeah, of course.
Because we used to have Paco upstairs and his and hers downstairs, further down the street.
Yeah.
And it was like for me, and Lynn, the lady who works upstairs, is still working within that same kind of genre. So it's like come full circle for me. It reminded me massively when I came in of shops what we shopped in as kids.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting thing that's come back. I think a full circle.
Yeah. I mean, who knows what's going to happen, in the future? Because whether do people stop using shops? Yeah. Do people only shop online? I don't think so. Personally, I don't think so. And the worry is what I think is almost irrelevant. I have a 16-year-old daughter, 12-year-old daughter. Yeah. It's more important how in I don't know, in 5, 10 years' time, when they have the disposable income you would hope to want to buy their own clothes, and how do they shop then? Because I think that they're so used to shopping online. There's nothing new about shopping online to a 16 to a 15-year-old. That maybe my hope is that they see the benefits in coming into a shop and having human interaction with somebody and speak to somebody about, we bought this because it's. We found this in a trade show in Paris and we loved it, so we, rather than...
Yeah, I do. I really do. Yeah.
I mean, my wife Louisa was telling me a story the other day. They went into a fruit and veg shop, and my daughter was blown away because it was busy and there was people in there all talking to each other, and she was like, she commented, it's like being in a film. And she was just basically that's a very normal thing to somebody my age, but obviously, to walk into the shop and hear people talking.
Well, I mean, for me, long may it continue. I hope, boutique, cool places, whether it's, a shop, a veg shop, an organic fruiteers, a clothing shop, a shoe shop, butcher. I hope all that kind of that home-owned boutique, self-controlled element still stays with us. I really do. I fear for that, but I hope that's not lost, James. But long may it continue, and thanks for your time. This is cool here. Thanks.